God has called you to be a part of His church, and His church is the only stabilizing thing that is going on. There's going to be something the Bible calls in Revelations 20, the white throne judgment. Genghis Khan will be there. Hitler will be there. Napoleon will be there. The Bible says both great and small, the sea will give up its dead, the grave will give up its dead, and they will line up before God Himself sitting on the white throne. And they're going to be judged. Now, I won't be there. And if you know Jesus, you won't be there. But those who don't know Jesus, great and small, they could have had a great impact, a great evil impact, or maybe be virtually unknown by the world. Great and small will stand. And you know what? It won't matter one bit how much and how big they were and how mighty or terrible they were. When they stand in line at the throne of God, they're going to be on their knees. People don't like hearing teaching like this. They just want to say, well, God is love. He is love. But you could never exist in heaven anyway if you're not born again. If you don't ask Jesus into your heart, then your spirit is not reborn. It's like saying, well, that's not fair. It has nothing to do with fair. The spiritual law is that something that is not reborn would never exist in the presence of God. That's like saying, well, it's just not fair. Ice cubes can't exist in my campfire. Right. The laws of physics dictate they never will. The same is true for a person who has not of their own free will said, Jesus, come into my heart. That miracle is so incredible, so stunning, so off the charts. And that's what the local church of Jesus Christ is to do. We are the salt and the light of this planet. But they will stand before God. And when their name is not found in the book, it is over. This is the last chance they will have to stare God in the eye. But if they're not found in the book, they're gone. Now, then it talks about other books that are going to be opened. And in 1 Corinthians 3, Romans 14, 2 Corinthians 5, it talks about another judgment that I want to talk about today. It is when Jesus says thank you. It is God's award ceremony. Now, people will often talk and misquote the Bible and say, one day you're going to come before the judgment seat of Christ. And they'll take out of context. But this judgment is an awards ceremony. It's not Jesus looking at me and going, Leon, come here. Did you ever mess up? And He's going to slap me upside the face and say, all right, you did okay in some areas, but man, these areas, you just missed it. He's not going to do that. He is going to say thank you. Like the Olympics where, figure skating, there's judges there and they're handing out awards and honorable mentions and golds and silvers and bronzes. They're not going to pull the guy who got seventh up and say, you were pathetic. Don't appear before us again. Don't ever figure skate again. You are a loser. Go back and get a new coach. No, Jesus, in fact, this awards ceremony is going to be greater than the Emmys. It's going to be greater than anything the world has ever done for its own heroes. And at the end of this age, Jesus is going to get up and He's going to begin to award and reward people. Now, everyone thinks that, well, where's Jesus? Oh, he's the cute guy over there in the dress with the long brown flowing hair and the big precious moments eyes. No, that's not what Jesus looks like. I know that because people draw that, we think it is, but Revelation says what Jesus looks like today, that you just fall down when you see Him because His hair is as white as wool, that out of His eyes is like fire, out of His mouth a double-edged sword, and He's wearing armor so stunning, it's like bronze in a midday sun that just glows. Nothing can stand before the King of all kings. This Jesus who's in love with you, He's going to get up and He's going to begin to say, all right, I'm going to hand out awards, and He's going to begin to call us one by one. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 says, all of us will stand alone in front of Him. Now, right away, my stomach goes into a knot, goes, ooh, this could get bad. No, you don't understand. Jesus took all your sin. He went to hell in your place. He's forgiven you for everything, past and future. This is not looking at your issues. Well, Leon, the Bible says every word that you've spoken, you're going to give an account for. If you read that in context and you look at its time that it teaches that in the Bible, it's talking about on this planet. Every word that you speak is affecting your life. It is judging your life. Keep saying you're stupid, watch what it does. Keep saying I'm just so sick, watch what it does. Keep saying I can't stand you, see what it does. Your words are judging you right now. There's only two judgments at the end of this age that I'm talking about today, the white throne and the judgment seat of Christ. Now here's what's interesting. It says in 1 Corinthians 3, the work of each one will become plainly known. You can't fool him. You ever met somebody that they can put on a good show? The way they dress, the way they talk, the way they look, who they know, who they meet. I mean, meeting this person is a dissertation for the next 30 minutes of who they know, what they're going to do, and how smart and how good they are. When they stand before God, none of that will matter. It says you're only going to be tested for two things. Your motive. Did you just do it for the right motive? And the second thing is, its eternal value. Does it have eternal value? A businessman might say, well, I invented and created skyscrapers as far as the sky can see. And okay, did anybody discover Christ with anything that you did? Did you move money towards it? Did in your business operations, did you represent Christ? Oh yeah, we can't find any eternal value. The Bible says a fire will just burn it up. It's just kind of like this microscopic look, gone. Oh, you did some good things here, but you were doing that because you were trying to look good, trying to get a mic, trying to get paid, trying to get a job. Whatever wrong motives were, that's gone. But then the Bible says, here's what's really good for us. It says at the end of verse 15 in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, it says, if any person's work is burned up and he suffers the loss of it, though he himself will be saved. If you're a born-again believer, you're still going to make heaven. Now, I don't know what that awards is going to look like. I refuse to teach on things that the Bible's not clear on. So at this award ceremony, what is Jesus handing out as an award? I don't know. I do know that for eternity, we're going to be celebrating with him. And I do know that he is no respecter of persons, but he needs to speak to his church and say, thank you. This award ceremony is going to be looking at what's called the Book of Works. And the Book of Works is so detailed that it says a glass of water given in the right motive is recorded. Now, I wasn't noticing, it's such a bright light to be looking up here, but someone filled that up. And someone put it on that glass. And it might be the smallest thing that's being done today with all of our kids' classes and security teams and TV teams and all that goes on. But that was recorded in a book of works. To give a cup of water in the name of the Lord receives its reward. And I don't know what that means other than you don't have to worry that no one notices what I do. No one understands how much I've given, how much I've labored, and they won't. There's a story my dad told me really helped me. It was about a time back before planes when in the Midwest of America, a gentleman went to Africa for a while to help out, to set up services, for conferences or like an open air services to reach people. And thousands of people came to know Jesus. Churches were started everywhere. And on the ship back, as he's on the ship back, and it takes days and days on this ship, he was wondering when he got to America if they would have heard of the incredible move of God. They had labored in rain and sun, and people had gotten hurt, and all the things they had to do to pull off these open air meetings. And he thought, I wonder if anybody will know. As they got close to the shore, he looked and he saw marching bands and ticker parades, and he thought, they've heard of this incredible move of God all throughout. This is amazing. And as he walks down the gangplank of the ship, he was told the president was on the ship. He shot a lion, and the ticker parades and the marching bands were all for him. So as they marched off with the president, he walked down and got to the train station. He thought to himself, when I get home to where my kids, my friends, my church, my Bible school, when I get home, they'll have heard about it. And we'll celebrate. So he gets on the train, and the train stops and goes and passes through all these towns. And eventually they get close to his town. He looks out the window and he sees the area they used to build in those days where the trains would stop. It was a huge platforms because that was the only transportation much the public would use. And so he sees people everywhere celebrating. He goes, they heard. Gets off the train and he hears the president's train is attached to the back of the train, and they're all here to see the president. To make matters worse, they forgot he was coming home today. As he carries his suitcases by himself down the long country road home, he asks God, and he just kind of complains, and he says, God, he says, the president shoots a lion, yeah. And they celebrate, and he says, here I am. And he says, people got saved. Eternity, heaven was populated by thousands. Churches got started. People were healed. I'm home. No one's even here to celebrate. As he was walking down the road, he says in his memoirs, he says, God spoke to me and said, son, you're not home yet. And I want you to know something. So many of us are unsung heroes, laboring and giving and serving where no one knows you. And sometimes you'll look at me or someone with a microphone who gets to develop a gift, and you'll think, wow, they're so amazing, and you don't get it. You're amazing. And God has called you to be a part of his church. And his church is the only stabilizing thing that is going on. I wonder who led Billy Graham to Jesus. I wonder who took Catherine Kuhlman's hand and led her in the sinner's prayer. I wonder, when you begin to recognize that in the world we tend to look at people's fame and we think fame is greatness. You ask most kids today what they want to do with their lives. It has to do with being famous. It does not mean great. Great has nothing to do with fame. You can be great in the family of God. You can be great. And when we stand before Jesus, it's going to be the most amazing. I mean, there'll be, they say there's no tears in heaven, meaning of sadness. But I think we're going to sit there with our chests out to here, and we're going to celebrate people we didn't know when we hear what they did and the labor and what they gave and how they served and how they walked miles just to get to church and serve and etc. I could tell you story after story after story, like one couple in Winnipeg. They would take 2.5 hours to go by buses from where they lived to come and serve in the kids ministry. And you just kind of look at them, and they had 2 little girls, and they had to pack lunches there and they had to pack lunches home. And they just kept coming year after year, and nothing would make them stop. And that's just one story of, I could go on and on, of people in this church right now. And you'll never know the sacrifice people make and that they give to be a part of the family of God. And we get all caught up on who's on stage and who's got the mic.